Chapter 21 Kingmaker. In negotiations between two parties, the best results come from looking strong. In negotiations between three parties, the best results come from appearing weak, but being strong. That way, your stronger foe weakens themselves fighting the weaker foe, and you can crush the remnants of both, and enforce your will. 28th of December, 2033, 5:52 AM. Folded Dominion, Battle Helix. Mana signature, C53171. Physical location, Phobos. The final staircase before the battlefield ended like all the others. A quiet, cautious climb as we checked every last stair, searching for foes that simply were not there. An invisible pressure weighed upon my mind with each step. We exited into the ruins of a mud-brick city. The ruins stretched out in a skeletal maze of sun-baked silt. Once proud arches leaned or lay broken, their surfaces pitted by wind and ancient violence, until nothing remained of the history they had been built to honour. I ran my gloved hand over a jagged wall. The surface was grainy and fragile, yet it had endured the helix's shifting whims for eons. Entire streets were choked with fine ochre dust that billowed around my boots in stagnant clouds. "This wasn't built by soldiers," I murmured, my voice thin in the heavy air. "These are homes, bakeries, and courtyards. This was a peaceful city." Luna stopped by a low, rectangular structure that might have been a well, and peered into its dry, dark throat. A city of the first binders, perhaps. Our songs say they lived on the heights, before the demons rose from the roots and the angels descended from the crown. But that was all so long ago. All we know of them is myth. Braca paced the edge of a collapsed plaza, his world egos humming a low, expectant note. Empty, just like the floors below. It's a tomb, with a lid left off. He was right. There were no bismuth stains here, no scorched earth, only the slow decay of a place the world had left to rot. "Look up," I said, pointing toward the part of the horizon my mind had labelled as north. In that direction, the sky turned an apocalyptic purple. Great filaments of white-hot lightning spiderwebbed across the layer's ceiling, clashing with roiling plumes of unnatural fire. The pressure I'd felt on the stairs was a physical weight here, a thrumming vibration that made my teeth ache. Even at this distance, it stank of charred flesh. In every other direction, the helix remained trapped in its eerie, constant noonday glow. The ruins sat bathed in sourceless, static light, making the violence in the distance look like a framed painting of the end of the world. "Over there," Luna whispered, her eyes reflecting the distant flashes. "The angels are throwing everything they have into that fire." Braca tightened his grip on the Aegis. "And we've found our goal, Elishia. Let's see if we can't break them all." We scrambled up the exposed spine of a collapsed aqueduct, keeping our silhouettes low against the purple-bruised sky. The static hum in the air grew louder with every metre gained, swelling into a chaotic din of screeching metal, inhuman roars, and the thunderclap of magical ordnance. I reached the crest first, flattening myself against the warm stone. Luna slid into position on my left, Braca on my right. Below us, the ruins opened into a natural amphitheatre roughly 2 kilometres across. It was a bowl of dust turned into a slaughterhouse. "Bloody hell," I breathed. This was nothing like the stairwell skirmishes or even the battle to defend Ultima Vigilia. This wasn't a patrol or a raid, it was total war. Entire army divisions grinding each other into meat. Thousands of demonic, insectile horrors churned the valley floor into a red, shifting sea. They scrambled and flew in short, frantic bursts over mounds of their own dead, mandibles clicking, driven by a hive mind ferocity that cared nothing for survival, only consumption. They surged against a beleaguered island of silver and white light in the centre of the battlefield. That shrinking island was the angelic host. "They're being eaten alive," Braca whispered, the bloodlust in his voice smothered by shock. He was right. The angels, for all their individual power and terrifying majesty, were losing. Badly. I focused and my vision sharpened. The mirror seraph stood atop a ziggurat in the heart of the angelic formation. Even from this distance, she looked ragged. One of her wings hung at an odd angle, one patch of feathers scorched black. She raised her shield. A pulse of blinding radiance swept outward, vaporizing the front rank of the demon horde. Her clones swept through the swarm, carving bloodied paths, but even they had limits. For every 100 demons she butchered, 200 more scuttled over the ashen corpses to take their place. And behind the waves of lowly grunts, more powerful demons, elites or commanders, prepared to strike at critical moments. The angelic lines had buckled and were near collapse. Aspects of wrath, those terrifying juggernauts of lightning and fury, were being dragged down by weight of numbers. I watched 3 scorpion-like demons latch onto a retreating angel, their stingers punching through heavy plate armor like it was wet cardboard. The angel didn't even have time to scream before the swarm engulfed him. "This is it," Braka growled, shifting his grip on the World Aegis. The bismuth shield pulsed with a hungry blue light. "Look at them. They're focused on each other. We drop right into the flank of the nearest demon column, smash their lines, then turn and hammer the angels while they're pinned. We kill them all." He looked at me, eyes bright with battle lust. "We cleanse the whole floor, Elishia. Right here, right now." It was a tempting thought. One decisive strike to end the threats to humanity in this realm. My fingers twitched towards my Glock. "No." Luna's voice was ice, sharp enough to cut through the noise of the battle. She didn't look at Braka. Her gaze remained locked on the corpse production line operating below. "Look at the numbers, swordsman. Really look." Braka frowned. "I see a lot of targets." "You see an unwinnable battle," Luna corrected. "The angels are the only reason that swarm isn't climbing the walls to find us. If we jump in and start killing indiscriminately, or if we decapitate the angelic leadership by striking the seraph, that line breaks in minutes. Then we break, then nothing stops the flood reaching our friends below. There's enough of them to threaten Ultima Vigilia." She pointed a gauntleted finger at the black tide. "There are, 4 mites of demons down there? 5? Even with your fancy shield and Elishia's explosions, can we kill that many frenzied beasts before they overrun us?" I ran the numbers before Braka could answer. My mana regeneration was a few points per minute, but my cataclysmic criticals had a cooldown and drained thousands. I could clear a sector, maybe hold a choke point, but an open field against a swarm that size? I'd run out of mana long before they ran out of bodies. "She's right, Braka," I said, the words tasting sour. "The demons are the dominant force. If the angels fall now, the demons inherit the floor, and then they come for Ultima Vigilia." Braka spat over the edge of the ruin. "So what? We wait? Let the demons finish the job and hope they're tired afterward?" "We don't wait," Luna said, her eyes narrowing as she tracked a spectral duplicate of the Mirror Seraph as a massive, beetle-like siege beast tore it apart. "We act. We don't fight as soldiers. We fight as Kingmakers." I looked at her and understood. It was ruthless, it was cold, and it was exactly the kind of calculation Major Hardman would have applauded. "Balance the scales," I murmured. Luna nodded. "We are the weakest force here. In a 3-way fight, the weak force can decide the winner by bleeding the strong. We need the angels to keep fighting. We need them to kill another 2 mites of demons before they die." "You want us to help them?" Braka said, disgust twisting his face. "After they impaled poor Tara? After the traps?" "I want them to die helping us," Luna snapped. "They're meat for the grinder. Every minute they stay alive is a minute demons are dying. If the Mirror Seraph falls now, the demons win with 3/4 of their strength intact. If we prop her up, maybe they win with 1/4. Even better, maybe they wipe each other out." I stared down at the Mirror Seraph. She and her clones scythed through a knot of attackers, but her movements were slowing. She'd terrorized Luna's people for generations, and saving her felt like a betrayal of every moral instinct I held dear. Every instinct I still had left, at least. Sometimes, the only way to protect was to point 2 predators against each other. My mind layered a grid over the battlefield, identified the stress points, the points where the angelic line was about to shatter. "The siege beasts," I pointed out. "Those massive beetles spitting acid. They're breaking the angelic shield walls. If the wall goes, the seraph goes down. I think we need her a little longer." Luna tracked my gaze. "Exactly. We take out the heavy hitters on the demon side, sniping positions only. We don't engage the angels. We don't let them know we're helping. We keep the pressure off their necks just long enough that they can die usefully." Braka looked from Luna to me, searching for dissent. He found none. He groaned in frustration and thumped his fist lightly against his shield. "I hate this. Feels like cowardice." "It's strategy," I said, drawing my Glock. It's why it settled my nerves. "It's ugly, Braka. We're not heroes in my world's storybooks or your songs. We can die as warriors, or win as tacticians." I shifted position and raced my elbows on the crumbling stonework. The distance was extreme, nearly 800 meters to the front lines. For a normal pistol, impossible. For a woman with the miracle of calculation, it was a math problem. And I was always good at math problems. "Pick your targets," Luna ordered, regripping her halberd while staying low. She'd be our close-range security if any stragglers scurried up the ruins. "Braka, stay hidden. You're the reserve. If they spot us, You become the wall. Fine, Braca grumbled, crouching behind a fallen slab. But if the wing bitch comes this way, I'm putting a dent in her. I didn't mention my own wings. I focused. The roar of battle faded into white noise as I isolated a target. A siege beetle, armoured in iridescent chitin, vomited caustic green sludge over a phalanx of aspects of justice. The angels screamed as their armour melted and their formation crumbled. If that line broke, the demons would flank the seraph. I did the math. Wind shear, gravity, bullet drop, the movement of the beast. The miracle of calculation painted a golden trajectory in my mind's eye, a perfect arc connecting my barrel to the soft, pulsing tissue behind the beetle's headplate. Kingmaker, I whispered. I squeezed the trigger. The recoil was a familiar kick. The bullet flew true, crossing the valley in a heartbeat. It struck the beetle mid-spew. I willed the miracle of cataclysmic criticals not to trigger. The mana cost was too high for a sustained engagement, and I didn't want our cover blown. The heavy round, placed with surgical precision, shattered the creature's nerve cluster. Dean's voice announced my gains. 400 combat XP. I tuned it out. The beetle went into a seizure, thrashing wildly. It spun, spraying acid across the demon ranks instead of the angels. A ragged hole opened in the demon offensive. The angels sensed the reprieve and prepared to surge into the gap, lightning spears stabbing into the disarray. And then the world went mad, as my attempts to suppress the miracle's power failed. The cryovolcano answered, and the already dead beetle exploded in a wave of fire and shards of ice. Angels looked around, uncertain what had happened, but the swarm gave them no time to respond. More XP notifications followed. I ignored them. Landed a hit, I reported, emotionless. Couldn't completely hide my presence. Good, Luna said, watching the carnage with grim satisfaction. Again, the left flank is buckling. You're right, a bit in front. A big one with the wings and the fire lance. I shifted aim. I'd made my decision, but I still hated every second of what we were doing at the moment. Each shot bought time for the monsters who would gladly torture Tara or Florina. But the demon count kept dropping, and I knew that Luna was right. Today, we were Kingmakers. We would save the angels in this moment, so we could fall upon them later. I'd seen the horrors of two of this war's three sides, and I'd made my choice. Now, I just had to make sure I'd retain the strength to hit the Mirror Seraph. Snipers firing into an open conflict can cause a lot of damage, but no sniper can hide forever. Another precise shot took down an unfamiliar demon, a larger, spider-like creature with venom dripping from its mandibles and bladed hooks tipping each leg. The round punctured through its thorax, and I'd fired rapidly enough that the cooldown hadn't reset, so no cataclysmic critical ensued. The creature folded in on itself, legs scrabbling uselessly at the air before it tumbled into the churning mass of its lesser kin. 8 seconds. I counted down in my head, a metronome ticking down to my next devastating strike. A metronome that was presently at 5.5. The demon line shifted. My earlier shots had carved out temporary breathing room for the angels. The horde adapted with terrifying speed. New commanders emerged from the rear ranks, barking orders in a chittering language that crawled under my skin. They reorganized, plugged gaps, and directed fresh waves towards the weakened angelic flanks. I scanned for the next stress point. I spied a hulking brute covered in bony plates, bellowing commands from atop a mound of corpses. Lesser demons clustered around it in tight formation, moving with purpose rather than frenzy. I didn't know their combat doctrines, but I knew what a leader looked like. Take it out, and that whole section might just dissolve into chaos. The 8th tick passed. I exhaled, squeezed the trigger, and let the miracle of calculation guide my shot across the impossible distance. The bullet drilled deep into the commander's eye socket. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, the cryovolcano's power surged through the wound. Ice erupted from the creature's skull, followed by gouts of liquid fire that sprayed across its bodyguard. The demons around it went berserk, their coordination shattering. Over 100 turned on each other, mandibles and claws ripping into former allies. "Ha, that's the stuff," Braca muttered from hiding, grim satisfaction in his voice. Chaos propagated outward in a wave, as demons that had been pressing the angelic line found themselves attacked from behind by their own maddened brethren. The Mirror Seraph capitalized instantly, her clones diving into the confusion like sharks scenting blood. But I'd pushed our luck too far. Near the edge of the battlefield, a towering demon commander with obsidian carapace and a phalanx clutched in its forearm grip turned its head towards our position. Even at this distance, I saw the plates around its compound eyes narrow, It raised the fire lance and pointed directly at our hiding place on the aqueduct. "We're seen," I said, keeping my voice level. The commander shrieked, cutting through the cacophony of battle. A dozen demons peeled away from the main assault, movements quick and purposeful. They weren't charging blindly. These were hunters, spreading out to flank our position. They moved fast. They'd be upon us inside the minute. "Kill squad," Luna hissed, rising to a crouch. "They don't know about Braca or me. They think you're a lone mage up here, raining death from long range. The demons are tough, but stupid. We can use that." The demons scuttled up the ruins with disturbing agility. I counted 12, all mid-sized fighters with wickedly curved blades, vestigal red wings, and chitinous armor. Expendable troops sent to silence a sniper. They had no idea what they were running into. "Stay hidden until they're close," I told Braca. "Luna, can you—" I was cut off as a fire lance fired. I'd been watching the kill squad. I hadn't been watching the commander. The ball of sticky, burning napalm arced across the battlefield with deceptive grace. It wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed at our cover, at the slab Braca crouched behind. "Braca, move!" He was already in motion, the World Eager swinging up to intercept. But that fire lance projectile wasn't lightning. It was fire, clinging fire, and the shield that had devoured an entire Seraph of the Storm couldn't consume this the same way. The fireball splashed across the Aegis. Most of it deflected, spraying across the ancient stonework. But some of it, enough of it, wrapped around the shield's edge and splattered across Braca's shoulder and chest.